It's really nice to stand up here and look out at all of you. Some of you I know really well. Some of you I just know from sitting together praying week after week after week, no matter what was going on in my life, the joys and the sorrows. There's a piece in the paper today by Robert Putnam about an interview with Robert Putnam, who wrote Bowling Alone. And when I'm here, I am reminded that I am never bowling alone. So when I was in high school, I was in a production of The Skin of Our Teeth by Thornton Wilder. Anybody know the play? So he's much more famous for Our Town, but I guess that our drama teacher had a rebellious streak in her, because instead she chose this very strange play that is set in the prehistoric tundra and modern-day New Jersey. In the opening monologue, the main character, Sabina, shares her concern that the world is on the precipice of falling apart, or, as she puts it, the world is at 6s and 7s. Now, I always thought that this phrase came from the fact that the 6 and 7 multiplication tables were the most bedeviling ones to learn, especially for me, but it turns out that that's not it. It actually comes from a dice game where betting on 6 or 7 was a choice that didn't make any sense, and if you did that, something bad was about to happen. So in high school, this phrase became kind of a shorthand in my little group of friends. When life didn't make any sense to us, when it seemed totally unfair, when it caused general upset or unpleasantness, we would say to each other, "The world is at 6s and 7s." Parashat Hukkat invites us into a world that is at 6s and 7s. It's a parasha full of things that don't make any sense, don't seem fair, and cause a lot of upset and unpleasantness in the lives of the Israelites and their leaders. We begin the parasha with the instructions for enacting the ritual of the para adumah, the red cow. An unblemished cow is slaughtered and burned, and its ashes are collected. When one of the Israelites has become impure through contact with a corpse, the ashes will be used to purify that person. Now, a great deal of rabbinic ink has been spilled searching for meaning in this ritual. Does it represent atonement and purification for the sin of the golden calf? Is it supposed to inspire us that we can return to a state of purity and so inspire us towards tshuva and the possibility of tshuva? In the end, the rabbinic consensus is that the para adumah is a chok. A chok is a law that doesn't make any sense. It's a ruling that surpasses human understanding. Even the great King Solomon admitted that he was not able to comprehend the meaning of the para adumah. So as the parsha opens, we find ourselves in the spiritual as well as the literal wilderness, a place where laws can make no sense and yet carry complete authority. And the bewilderment does not end there. Next, the people complain to Moshe that there's no water, and he brings their grievances to God. We have seen this tableau several times before in the book of Shmot, but in this case, there's a sinister twist. God tells Moshe to order the rock to produce water, and Moshe chooses instead to strike the rock. At first, it seems like a good outcome. The rock produces water. But God seems somehow enraged that Moshe has not followed instructions and informs Moshe that because of this, he will be excluded from entering the promised land. Again, the rabbis try to understand this draconian punishment for a seemingly small infraction. Rashi says that the act showed Moshe's lack of faith in God, and so he didn't deserve to lead the people into the land. But it's hard not to think that there's something impulsive and even, dare I say it, cruel in God's decision. In a world that is at 6s and 7s, God's response seems as mysterious as the ritual of the red cow. And there's one more element to the story that I just told that I didn't mention. It's very easy to miss because it's only one short pasuk, only one short verse. The story of Moshe striking the rock for water begins with these words, Miriam died and was buried in Kadesh. That's all that we learn about Miriam's death. By contrast, when her brother Aharon dies in the next chapter of the Parsha, the event is marked by a poignant ceremony atop Mount Hor, where he takes off his priestly vestments and physically passes them to his son Elazar. We read that the Israelites mourn Aharon for 30 days. But, as Dr. Anna Urowitz-Freudenstein has pointed out, Miriam is not mourned. And unlike her brothers, who are succeeded by Elazar and Yehoshua, her role is not passed down to anyone. Her prophetic voice dies with her death. To our ears, this also feels somehow at 6s and 7s, unfair and painful. Her death goes practically unnoticed by her brothers, by the Israelite people, and even by God. And so here we are in Parashat Hukkat, in a world where laws don't always make sense, a world of sometimes cruel and unfair outcomes, a world of losses mourned and losses unmourned. You've probably guessed where I'm going with this. And so here we are today, in a world where laws don't always make sense, a world of sometimes cruel and unfair outcomes, a world of losses mourned and losses unmourned. According to Google, today is day 280 of the hostages' captivity. Though there was some hope expressed in the paper yesterday about progress towards a deal, it still seems like there is a long and uncertain road between here and their safe return and an end to the war. There is disarray and deep uncertainty in the presidential election. Some of the rulings handed down by the highest court in the land seem mysterious to many of us. The world is still at 6s and 7s. How do we live and move forward in such a world? The monologue that I quoted at the beginning of this drash continues. The whole world is at 6s and 7s, and why the house hasn't fallen down upon our ears long ago is a miracle to me. It's hard not to feel like the house isn't actually in the process of falling down upon our ears. And so the wisdom that feels to me the most needed for this moment is a story that comes from a time when the house actually did fall down upon our ears. The moment that we are beginning to spot in the distance coming up next month, the moment when the temple was destroyed. The story goes like this. Rabbi Yossi taught, "Once I was walking on the road and I entered one of the ruins of the temple in Jerusalem to pray. Elijah came and waited for me at the door until I finished my prayer. After I finished my prayer, he asked, 'Why did you go into this ruin?' I explained, 'To pray.' He replied, 'You should have prayed on the road.' I was afraid that I would be attacked. He said, 'Then you may pray the abbreviated version of the Amidah.'" I learned 3 things from Elijah that day. 1, you should not pray in a ruin. 2, you can pray on the road. And 3, when you pray on the road, you may shorten your prayers. Rabbi Yossi is afraid to move forward. He can't pry himself away from the ruins of the world that he knew. He feels somehow safer staying put. But Elijah, with his prophetic clarity, sees that this choice is actually immobilizing. So he offers another paradigm: pray on the road. Elijah does not conceal the risks and limitations of following this path. It will be dangerous, and Rabbi Yossi's ability to serve God will not be eliminated, but it will be curtailed in some way. Like Rabbi Yossi, I find myself drawn off the road and into the ruins time and again. I check repeatedly on the minute-by-minute progress of news stories that I have zero control over. I imagine and talk about doomsday scenarios here and in Israel with my friends and family. For me, these days, finding and setting out on a path towards ideals that I believe in feels both risky and with a limited potential for success. It is painful to acknowledge that we are living in a time when there may continue to be very real constraints on building towards our ideals, when we may have to abbreviate our dreams in order to move forward on the journey. Parashat Hukkat ends with a detailed description of the stops that the Israelites make on their journey through the wilderness. It's worth noting that even though Moshe's fate has been sealed and he knows he will not be able to witness the land of Israel, he continues on the journey. He doesn't give up and say, "Go on without me, it's pointless." He continues to make camp with them, to break camp, to hike from place to place in the desert heat time and again. He even anoints a successor as much as it pains him, because he knows this is the only way for the people to move forward. As both Moshe and Elijah seem to understand, when the choice is between staying immobilized and in a ruin and setting out on a risky journey, even knowing that the terrain may demand that we adjust our expectations of how we can be of service, we still have to take to the road, move forward, offer the prayers that we can offer, even in a dangerous terrain, especially when the world is at 6s and 7s. Shabbat Shalom.